Roos from RTM Enviro will be there. They're both members of the Tropical Green Building Network. Good morning to you both.
Hi, Fiona.
Hey, Fiona.
Very well. Sophie, firstly to you, your business largely works with people retrofitting their home. What does that entail? What does that mean when you retrofit your home?
Well, basically, we're looking at ways that people can actually reduce their energy bills and make their homes more comfortable to live in. So looking at things such as orientation and where the sun and wind comes from and maximising that natural ventilation and solar access.
And what sort of things might it entail? Let's say you came at my place.
Yes.
What sort of things might I have to do?
Well, we can look at which rooms are orientated towards the hot areas of the house and what you can do to maybe shade windows on those sides or tint windows. You can put external shading devices around those, open up the rooms to breeze paths, because we sort of look at where the breeze paths come through and things like that. So we can do advice on that. And we're also, as you might be talking about later, just preparing a retrofitting guide for sustainability for CAFNEC, which is going to be a 20-page guide that people can look at their own homes and make some of their own assessments and look at things they can do for themselves.
Is it an expensive exercise to retrofit your home?
No, not necessarily. There's a lot of different things you can do, varying costs, but we can sort of look at what's most efficient for you. It can be things like just increasing ventilation and say opening up the openings more, putting a bit of window tinting on, things like that, or just even changing your light bulbs and things like that. So there's a varying range of things you can do from no cost at all, which are more behavioural things, up to quite expensive things like a whole solar power system and things like that.
I'll bring David back into our conversation. David, you're sort of really focusing on grey water. What could we use grey water for in our homes?
Well, Fiona, there's a couple of things. We break our grey water systems up into two areas. There's either a treatment or reuse. So in the case of just reusing your grey water, that's where we capture the grey water as it's used from the laundries, showers. That water just gets reused on the gardens around the property. So you're sort of using the water twice. Pretty unique little units that we use. Fairly power efficient, and they got little self-cleaning lint filters inside, so you don't have problems with cloggages and blockages in your irrigation and stuff like that. Then on the side of treatment, we got a system that we put in place that once again you capture the grey water as it's used, but instead of just using the raw product, we can actually treat it to a standard where it can actually be reused in the home. On back into toilets, garden taps, etc. It's fine for direct human contact. So yeah, that's sort of the base of what we do.
Are many people doing that, wanting to reuse their grey water?
Not really at the moment. Unfortunately, living in North Queensland, everyone's got the thought that that water is
plentiful.
Plentiful, exactly. But the reality is we live on the most arid continent on the planet. And I believe we should be trying to reuse as much as we can, because it's our most precious resource, you could say.
Is it an expensive thing though to do this in your home, to use grey water?
It is. I'll be honest, but there are. It's on a scale. Like I say, if you're just going to reuse the water rather than treating it, it's a much cheaper alternative. But obviously, then you're restricted to what you do with it. It's like all things. All things are come at a cost. I know solar panels, they come at a cost, but they pay themselves off, and so does the use of your grey water over time. I mean, you save, just a standard home, you can save up to 180,000 litres of water a year just by reusing your grey water. So,
Sophie, I'm wondering, at the moment, as we keep hearing our power costs are going to be going up, and I'm sure some people have already seen that happening. Are people wanting to, head in this direction of perhaps looking at retrofitting their home to try and combat some of those high power bills?
Yes. Yeah, they are. There's certainly a lot of people looking at it at the moment. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So I guess firstly, just using the natural elements, the cool breezes, good shading and things like that. But then there's other things such as solar power and solar hot water, and you can actually get your power bills down to virtually nothing if you install a good solar hot water system and a good solar power system. And we've got someone there talking at the meeting this afternoon from NQ Solar about that. And we've also got someone from Smithfield Mitre 10 talking about no VOC paint, so things like making your home healthier to live in, not having those kind of fumes and things like that, which is very important, especially if you have young children.
What does that mean, no VOC?
But VOCs are volatile organic compounds, and they're sort of harmful fumes that are in paints. And those kind of things can actually be emitted out from the paint over the life of the building. And it's actually now the same cost to paint a building with no VOC paints as it is to use paints with VOCs in them. So things like that make a difference. They don't actually cost anymore.
What's the potential, do you think, for a homeowner? If they haven't got the money at the moment to do the full solar power thing, but they do want to do little things, the sorts of things you were talking about, making the most of breezeways and shading and all that sort of stuff. What's the potential, say, then?
You can potentially save quite a lot, because up to 40% of the energy used in your home is for heating and cooling. So if you can get that good shading and natural ventilation and not have to turn your air conditioning on all the time, you can potentially save up to 40% on your energy bill if you're not using air conditioning all the time. So things like that do have the potential to save quite a lot on your bill.
I'm speaking with Sophie Barrett and David Roos, both members of the Tropical Green Building Network. They'll be speaking at a free forum this afternoon, and I will give you all the details in just a moment. David, what sort of tips will you be giving people at the forum?
I guess we're talking about a few things. The grey water is one of the main things. In regards to tips, it'll just be giving simple examples of what can be done to reuse your water in the home and save the water, especially the grey water. But we'll also be highlighting grow walls and just different products that we deal with that just help in the overall sustainability of a home.
And Sophie, what about you? What sort of tips will you be offering?
Well, I'll initially just be going through a brief site analysis exercise so people can look at their own homes in relation to where the sun, the winds and everything comes from, and look at areas that potentially they could improve in their own homes, and then maybe giving some advice about maybe 6 or 7 of the major things that you can do that can help bring your energy bills down.
Some great tips then. I thank you both very much for joining us today.
No problem.
Thanks, Fiona.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sophie Barrett from Green at Heart and David Roos from RMP and Viro, two of the speakers that will be at this free forum this afternoon. There will also be speakers talking about solar power and different paints and all sorts of things about making your home a lot greener. If you are interested, it is free. You are very welcome to go along. You don't need to book or make a reservation or anything like that. Just rock up to the Cairns City Library meeting room, which is on Abbott Street in Cairns at 5:30 this afternoon. It runs through until around 7:15. So if you want to find out more, get some great tips for retrofitting or making your home more energy and water efficient, you might like to go along at 5:30, Cairns City Library.